Instagram stories are a very useful and powerful tool to connect and interact with your audience. And in this video, we're going to look at the tools that you should be using on a day-to-day basis in order to use Instagram stories effectively. Number one, hashtags. The same way you use hashtags on your posts, you can use hashtags on your stories. Now, a lot of people either don't know or don't use hashtags on their stories, and they're missing out. What hashtags do is they reach a wider audience, so whoever follows that hashtag or searches for that hashtag will be able to see your story. But I would recommend only doing maybe one, maybe two hashtags on your story to keep it simple. Number two, links. Previously, you can only add links to your Instagram stories if you had 10,000 followers or more. Back then it was known as the swipe up feature. But back in November, Instagram rolled this feature out to all of the accounts on Instagram. So you can now add links to your stories. And links are the easiest way to take people from your Instagram page to a website page. So for example, if you want someone to read your latest blog, or you want to sell a product directly from your website, or you simply want someone to go to a website to fill out a form, maybe you can directly link them from your story to that website. With the links, you can customize the text that they see, so make it catchy so people will see it and want to click on it. Number three are the engagement tools that you get on your Instagram stories, and that's your poll, your questions, your quizzes, and your rating sliders. They are the easiest way to increasing interactions with your audience on your story. So an example of this was, I used to do weekly film quizzes on our stories where people had to figure out what film I was trying to describe using emojis, and I was using the quiz tool, and people could either get the answer right or get it wrong. And it was a fun little thing I used to do every Friday. People loved it. People used to interact with it every week, to the point where people were actually looking forward to it every week. And it generally just increased our story engagement rates, and which led to more followers and more engagement rates on our page anyway. But with stories, what are the best ways to use them, and how often should you use them? So first of all, when it gets to stories, don't put too much information on the screen, because people will get lost, people will not know where to look, and you can lose someone's attention just like that. So keep it simple, keep it minimal. If you're adding text, make sure the text is clear and you could easily read it. If you've got to add a background to it, add a background to it, but don't make the text too small, don't put too much text on the screen, and just declutter your stories. Don't put too many photos, don't use too many of the tools with the quiz, a poll, a slider, all on the same screen. Spread it out. If you've got to do 2-3 stories, spread it across 2 or 3 stories, but declutter the stories and make them very simple and easy on the eye. Now, speaking of 2 or 3 stories, don't do too many stories. If you look at the top of the screen and it looks like an army of ants at the top of the screen, then you've probably done far too many stories, and people don't like that. If someone clicks onto your story and there's tons and tons of stories they've got to click through, they'll just quickly press on to get past you. They won't pay attention to any of the stories, maybe 1, maybe 2, but they'll get sick of it and they just want to get rid of you. And Instagram lets you get rid of stories by just swiping now anyway, but you don't want that. So keep it simple, keep it to maybe 6 to 10 stories per 24 hours, because after 24 hours Instagram will delete your stories and you can re-upload new ones. So keep it simple and keep it to maybe 6 to 10 stories every 24 hours. Now the next point goes without saying: do video stories when and where you can. Videos are the best tools you can be using for your business. I say this all the time, and I mean it. People connect much better with videos. So speak to your audience through your story if you have to. Speak to the camera. They're so easy. Just have the confidence to sit in front of the camera and speak to it. It's not easy, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. But yeah, do video stories as much as you can. And the final point I'm going to make is plan your stories. If you're planning your content and you've got a content strategy and maybe even a content calendar for your posts, you can do the same for your stories. If you plan your stories, they'll become a lot easier and your life will become a lot easier, and then you're not getting stuck for ideas of what you're going to be posting on your story, say come tomorrow or whenever. So for example, if Mother's Day is coming up at the end of this month and you know you need to be doing a story for Mother's Day, plan it, get the content ready for it, so when Mother's Day comes and you want to do a story, you can even schedule stories on the Facebook business app. Schedule it or have the content planned and ready, so when it comes to it, you're not thinking on the spot of what I'm going to post today, so you can just upload your story.